Just after I make my June Direct predictions video, we get a major leak of the first huge game of next month's Nintendo Direct, plus Resident Evil coming to Switch in a huge way with new games and Multiverses, which should be there. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Happy Memorial Day to those of you who celebrate, and happy Monday to those of you who hopefully had a good weekend. If you did not, let's make it better. Starting off with a big game at the next Nintendo Direct and a big confirmation that we've been waiting for. Dragon Quest finally wakes from its slumber with new details and a new interesting piece of artwork that maybe holds more secrets than it's leading on. Dragon Quest III HD 2D was announced a while back, and while we assumed it would come to Switch, platforms were never confirmed. Finally today, they've confirmed that Dragon Quest III HD 2D will be on next-gen consoles and Nintendo Switch, powering forward as the sputtering car, the little engine that never would give up, and the game system that'll take us at least until March of next year. But that's really great news, and it is going to be a big title most likely revealed at the next Nintendo Direct, according to Midori, who says they expect Dragon Quest III to show up at the June Nintendo Direct and to be a game that has a solid presence there. Now, Dragon Quest is a huge franchise. 11 plays really great on Nintendo Switch. 12 is coming out and probably won't be on Switch when it finally releases, but 3 HD 2D may actually have more than meets the eye. And this is because of the way that they tweeted out about this game over at Square, talking about the Legend of Erdrick draws near. Now, they are drawing the logo onto the screen, which is interesting, but as far as I'm aware, Dragon Quest III is actually a prequel to Dragon Quest I and II, the beginning of Erdrick's story, and this is considered a trilogy. So the Legend of Erdrick could comprise Dragon Quest I, II, and III, and maybe the big deal about this game and why it's been in development for a while and why they're amping up this announcement slash reveal slash release is because it's actually 3 games in one. Is this a mega HD 2D remaster that's going to have a humongous swath of Dragon Quest action, including the full Erdrick trilogy? Or are they just teasing that this is where Erdrick's trilogy begins, and then eventually maybe they'll HD 2D remaster the other titles? Nonetheless, it should show up soon. Everybody seems to indicate that it's going to appear in the next couple of weeks. We've got Summer Games Fest, we've got the Xbox Showcase, we've got Nintendo Direct, and so it's going to be at one of those. Nintendo, though, seems like a good spot. We talked about in my predictions, like, there probably aren't a ton of big third-party games coming to Switch in 2024. This, though, is one that is big, is on next gen, not on PS4 and Xbox One. Okay, Nintendo. Okay, you're getting a nice HD 2D game, and those Octopath titles always play great and look great on the Switch OLED. So let me know if you're picking up Dragon Quest III HD 2D now that it's confirmed for Switch, and do you think it's going to be 1 game or 3? Let's get grumpy for a minute here, okay? I typically don't like to be grumpy, but I'm grumpy that Multiverses is not coming to Switch. The game relaunches tomorrow in its full capacity, and I've been looking at what they're doing for players that participate in the beta. It seems like they've got their heads screwed on straight. They're giving away a lot of good stuff for those of us who played the game back last year. It's adding Jason Voorhees. There's a lot of characters rumored to be coming. We know Joker is in there. It seems like Powerpuff Girls as well, and many more representatives from the wider Warner Bros. Universe. This game was super fun last year, and I expect it to be even better when it launches tomorrow, but you're gonna have to go check out my videos on Ghost Robo because it's not on Switch, which is so silly to me. I'm assuming they'll try to get it to Switch 2, provided the game lasts until Switch 2. I don't want to bad talk this game, but they did seem to have a bunch of problems towards the end of the beta, and then the game went away for like a year, which was very bizarre. 2 years? A year and a half? 2 years. A long time. The game was gone forever and is finally returning. I'm excited because, we haven't had Smash Bros. In a long time. Give me some good action in the multiplayer battle arena with all sorts of kooky items, crazy characters, and fun alternate skins. I'll be playing Multiverses. I just think it should be on Switch. If you want to check out my coverage of it, it's going to be over on my youtube.com/GhostRobo channel. The cat wants to play Multiverses. Come on. He only has a Switch. Give this purr baby his Multiverses. You want to play it on Switch? I know. I don't get why. I don't get why it's not on Switch, but apparently Resident Evil is going to be on Switch in a big way, as Dusk Golem talks about the upcoming franchise releases for Resident Evil. He's got to be like the biggest Resident Evil source on the internet, and he's usually spot on. He's also got some people confirming his reports of Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Code Veronica being the next 2 titles to get remade. The only downside to this is Dust Golem says that Resident Evil 9 has been pushed back to late 2025 or 2026. He says that the Resident Evil 1 remake rumors are false. The Resident Evil 5 remake rumors are also false. But Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica are both in development as remakes. That's going to be Resident Evil 0, the prequel to Resident Evil, and Code Veronica taking our talents to Antarctica. Both of these games are very exciting, as I think they are lesser played, lesser known Resident Evils, so their remakes could really strike a chord. And Necro Philippe comes in out of nowhere and says both on Switch 2 natively. And then Andy Robinson of Video Games Chronicle says, listen to this man about Dust Golem and his rumors. So it does seem like these two games are in their development of their remakes. One of them will probably get announced this summer, I bet, because Capcom likes to push their agenda. We know they've got Monster Hunter Wilds as a huge title early next year. Could also be a Switch 2 candidate. But Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica both getting natively put on Switch 2, no cloud versions, and that also means that the RE engine would be working and running on Switch 2, which is huge. First of all, great engine, awesome looking games, fantastic titles. Resident Evil 7 and 8 are some of my favorite games of the last 10 years. I'm a real scaredy cat, but I toughen up, I suck it up, and I play through them because they're awesome shooters. We don't get a ton of crazy shooters with cool storylines, epic bosses, and just crazy encounters. Set pieces galore, werewolves, spooky werewolves. But Resident Evil, Code Veronica, and 0 will be remakes, and they've done a fantastic job with those as well. Both the Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, all epic titles. And while we do have the opportunity to play some of these on Switch, it's crappy cloud versions. I don't recommend it unless you have perfect internet. And still then, like, just go get it cheap on one of the other consoles. You can probably get those games for very little, like $10, $15 now, or even on your PC. But this is good. The Switch 2 is going to thrive based on, yes, its first-party exclusives, its epic new Mario game, its new Zelda titles, Metroid Prime 4 looking just sweet. But it's also going to be a success because of third parties. And I think that's an area where Nintendo really can vault forward in ways that they weren't quite able to with the Switch 1. Yes, it was novel to play these old favorites and past critically acclaimed titles on the Switch portably, but now that portable is kind of not as exciting as it once was, now we need the good games. Now we need the real games. And getting things like Assassin's Creed, getting things like Resident Evil, getting things like Monster Hunter Wilds will be huge for the Switch 2. And if it can launch with some of these games or in its launch window to prove like, hey, if you wanted, you could be a Switch gamer and just a Switch gamer, that's something for wider gaming industry players. Like, they can't really do this gen. You really need like a PlayStation or an Xbox to partake in a lot of the major releases. The Switch 2 is going to change that, I firmly believe, based on all the leaks we've seen, based on how Nintendo discusses things and what the power of the system is rumored to do. It absolutely seems like they're going to be in a position to be a, you can buy us, and that's all you need, which I think is huge and really great, and kind of the first time it's been that way for Nintendo since probably the SNES. Whether the 64, the GameCube, the Wii, etc. were all successful or not, yes, they were successful, but you really wanted the other systems to play all the other games. So many franchises and developers just skipped out on Nintendo platforms over the years. And yeah, there's a lot of games that were only on Nintendo consoles, but for me as someone that wanted to experience the whole video game industry, I always needed more. And I'll still probably end up having a PS6 and if Xbox even makes another console, but knowing that the Switch 2 can do all this, knowing that I can play these games on the Switch 2 if I choose, knowing that I have the option to take all these games with me on the go or on my couch on my TV, that's a phenomenal upgrade. And even though it doesn't seem like much, since the Switch did have some games like Hogwarts Legacy, Witcher 3, Doom Eternal, those were very few and far between. And many of them looked awful, and some of them played horribly. So getting them looking good, playing good, and regularly releasing day and date on Switch 2 is humongous, a massive shift, a big one. And I think Resident Evil is just a great representation of that. Let's take these games that were cloud titles that they try to get on Switch to appeal to the mass market and make more moolah, but turned out really poorly. And now let's do them natively. Let's bring Kingdom Hearts natively. Let's bring Final Fantasy natively. Let's bring Resident Evil natively, and let's make these games sing on the system, sell well on the system, and then encourage even more future multi-platform development and maybe some exclusives. Monster Hunter Rise started off as a Nintendo Switch exclusive, eventually going to PC and elsewhere. Wilds is going to be multi-platform, of course, but there's nothing to prevent these companies, especially like Capcom and Square, from developing a title for Nintendo, or at least timed exclusive on Nintendo Switch 2. I'm really excited for the Switch 2, if you can't tell, but I'm more excited for this June Direct, so hopefully we see Dragon Quest 3 HD, plus more, including my predictions from yesterday. Check out that video if you missed it. Enjoy your Memorial Day, and until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.